Well, the elders met this past Thursday evening, as Amy mentioned, and we spent a significant amount of our time discussing the near future of our country. We discussed the potential of an economic fallout brought on by the manufactured elements of the COVID crisis. COVID is real, but it is being used to frighten the tar out of American citizens and frighten them into surrendering personal freedoms and to excessive and unreasonable gathering of information on your whereabouts and contacts. Think about the unrequested placement of a COVID tracking system on your cell phone. How many of you even know you've got it? The ordering of churches to be closed while riots are allowed in the very same cities, where also law enforcement is demonized, defunded, and last Friday, the results were in of a survey of police departments nationwide showing almost half had budgets slashed. And officers are walking off the job in unthinkable numbers. COVID is the argument for the November election to be done strictly by mail-in ballot. You can trust that'll be fair. All of this is not orchestrated by conservative America, but I'll call it socialist America, and I mean socialist. Now, if one pagan pharaoh's two terrifying dreams, warning him of an impending famine as interpreted by Joseph, was enough to cause the nation of Egypt to go into preparation mode to store enough provisions to feed not only Egypt, but the surrounding countries that came to Egypt for food for 7 years when the famine did come, then the extraordinary number of followers of the Lord Jesus Christ having dreams that they believe are from God of an unprecedented economic, social, political, religious, and military upheaval in our country should cause the church to go into preparation mode to store enough provisions and tools necessary to brace itself for what is sure to come and warn others. So we are calling you to begin immediate preparation if you haven't already done so. We will provide information and helps and tips ASAP, but you can find plenty of information online immediately. The main areas of preparation include how to keep your wits, keep your ears on Jesus. Let not your hearts be troubled, he said. Keep your eyes on those needing the gospel. Long-term food and water supply with ways to heat the food and purify the water. Acquire necessary medications and first aid, personal and home defense, backup power or options for heat and light, a way to stay communicated with trusted others, some cash or bartering items, isn't it strange to hear somebody say this, a pastor say this on a Sunday morning? You never thought you would hear this on a Sunday morning, would you? You knew it would come, but not the one, huh? Right? Right? I want to know if you see the three-part mission statement that Amy mentioned that is described in what I just said. You've got to prepare the remnant, raise up watchmen, share Christ with all. I mean, you know what a remnant is, right? It's what remains after something's rough, after a tough time. That's the remnant. Remnants are found in the Bible. And to be part of that remnant, the way you kind of up your chances is, well, preparing for it. I shared, maybe last Sunday, but I know I shared at least last Wednesday or a couple of weeks ago from the Proverbs. The wise man sees trouble coming and prepares for it. The foolish man sees it coming and does nothing and goes on suffering for it. What's a watchman? Remember, we read about it in Isaiah, we read about it in Ezekiel. They're not just found in Jerusalem, ancient Israel, they were found in other countries. A watchman is simply somebody that stands watch. There's a guy that would stand on the wall of the city, and actually they would be certain distances apart. They'd surround the city. They'd be standing on the walls. And if they saw trouble coming, they blow the shofar. That ram's horn like we got over there. Okay? They blow a horn. And then the nearest watchman on the wall who heard that sound of their horns, they'd blow their horns. They all turn in towards the city. And they'd sound that alarm. That's how you woke up people back in the day. There was no, tornado siren. So it was the shofar. We need to share Christ with people. And when people are anxious and there's trouble, there's crisis, it's actually a good time to share. Especially if you're the one who's not looking like you're all scared and falling apart. And part of how you make sure you maintain your wits is that you prepare. Nothing like being caught unprepared. You want to talk about losing your cool. And I don't think we're lucky enough to be unscathed just because we're in South Dakota. I mean, we've already been affected by what's happening, and as things ramp up, we'll be affected even more. And we may experience less severe outcome that other states will, but we're already forced to wear a mask if we go to Walmart, Safeway, Sam's Club, Starbucks, Lowe's. Think about what is going on. You got to go through drive-up windows at banks, most fast food places. Schools were closed for months, and they probably will be again, even if they open now for a little bit. But listen, if nothing happens come November, no economic collapse, no civil war, no coup, no communist invasion, then you're all ready for a tornado or the next Atlas storm. And you've hopefully, like Joseph, you've simply made enough preparations, not just for yourself, but to relieve some of the hardship of those that did not prepare. And if your body dies from COVID or a riot or a car wreck or just old age, Jesus will raise it from the dead, as he did Lazarus, as we will see this morning in our ongoing study of the Gospel of John. We've been in the 11th chapter, and we pick up the story just after Mary and Martha spoke to Jesus, each in their own characteristic ways, telling him they wished he had come sooner to heal Lazarus so that Lazarus didn't have to die. See, they hadn't seen him raise the dead yet. They thought if somebody died, well, that's too late for Jesus. He could do everything else pre-death. But death, you can't do nothing about that one. But before we turn there, I want to tell you about a recent event. It involved my grandson, River, and his best friend, Talon. Talon, he went to a pet store, and he got a new fish for his aquarium. He found a beautiful fish, and he brought it home, and he named it Happy Sunshine Bubbles. And he put Happy Sunshine Bubbles in his fish tank, and when he woke the next morning, when he went to look at the aquarium, all of the fish were dead except for Happy Sunshine Bubbles. And with that, he told his mom, Happy Sunshine Bubbles should die. Well, as daughter Kayla was telling me this story, I already knew the kind of fish Talon bought. I said, Talon bought a beta, didn't he? Yeah, you've heard of those? It's called Japanese fighting fish. They're the ones sold individually in little glass jars because they're highly territorial. They'll kill anything. They'll fight. Doesn't matter the size of the other fish. They will still fight to the death. That's what they do. But for some reason, Happy Sunshine Bubbles bit the dust a couple weeks after. And I'd already met Talon on a previous trip to Sioux Falls. And so Kayla, in the conversation she was having with me about this whole thing with Happy Sunshine Bubbles, she asked if, on Talon's behalf, Talon asked if I would do the funeral for Happy Sunshine Bubbles. And I thought, this kid is so sweet. I love this kid. And I said, please tell Talon I'd be honored. And so Kayla said that Talon and his mother already chose a place to bury Happy Sunshine Bubbles, and that during the service, Talon was going to play Amazing Grace on the harmonica. And so a couple days later, over a video chat, I was here, and we had a service for Happy Sunshine Bubbles. Right there in the picture, my grandson River's on the left, granddaughter Sadie's sitting next to him. Talon's the one standing on the right. He's got a harmonica tucked in his belt there on his left hip. want you to notice the boys are wearing black. It's because Talon heard you're supposed to wear black at a funeral. So Talon also made a name tag for himself. Did you see that little white thing? Yeah, it says Talon. I guess that's in case, people come to the memorial service and friends of Happy Sunshine Bubbles, they're giving out name tags. And he did play his harmonica. I'm watching this over the video. Oh, this is just so sweet. And then they laid Happy Sunshine Bubbles to rest. God rest his soul. God rest. Now, many of you, if not all of you, have seen death, and you have experienced the grief brought on by death, and you've attended a service for a loved one. I want to ask you, what would God experience if he attended a funeral? You know how you react at a funeral. How would God react? We're about to find out, starting at verse 34, chapter 11 of John's Gospel. He said, "Where have you laid him?" That's Jesus speaking. And they said to him, "Lord, come and see." Jesus began to weep. If you remember a couple weeks ago, I told you that word. It's a Greek word, embrimastai, and it literally means horse snorting. It's that kind of sound you and I make in deep grief. There's that, as you're breathing, you're crying so hard. That's how he was crying. So the Jews said, "Look how much Jesus loved him." Just watching Jesus cry like he did. But some of them said, "Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying?" Then Jesus, again greatly disturbed, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone was laying against it. And Jesus said, "Take away the stone." Martha, the sister of the dead man, said to him, "Lord, already there's a stench because he's been dead 4 days." And Jesus said to her, "Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone. Again, if you want to know what God thinks or feels, just look at Jesus. And we see that God grieves over death because it's not how it's supposed to be. We were supposed to live forever, but our rebellion made us mortal. And Jesus came specifically to change that, which is why every time Jesus attended a funeral, the dead person didn't stay dead. And he's about to reveal that he alone has the power to reverse the curse of death. Now, a typical tomb in that day was a cave, and it would hold a number of bodies, not just one. And it was either a natural cave or one cut into the rock. They were usually 6 feet long, 9 feet wide, 10 feet high, with 8 shelves cut into the rock, 3 on each side and 2 against the back wall. And bodies were wrapped in linen. The hands and feet were in bandage-type wrappings, and the head was wrapped in a towel. And there was a groove, like a trough, that ran in front of the opening as a track for the large wheel-shaped stone that was rolled over the entrance to serve as the door. And when Jesus asked for that stone door to be rolled back, Martha could only think of one reason for the stone not to be rolled away. And what Martha said about Lazarus is true about the human race in general. "Lord, by now we stink." Because in the midst of all of our so-called life, we've been in spiritual death. And I understand what she is saying, because the smell of death is probably the worst smell that there is. And Lazarus' body has been decaying for at least 4 days, and the stone is now rolled back, and the only thing pouring out of the cave is that smell. And so the stone is rolled back, and then Jesus begins to pray. Now, I don't remember Jesus ever thanking God the Father for somebody having leprosy or being possessed or blind or lame or for Lazarus' death, but he did thank the Heavenly Father that he was in the midst of the situation. Listen to Jesus' prayer outside of Lazarus' tomb, verse 41. So they took away the stone. And Jesus looked upward and he said, "Father, I thank you for having heard me. I know that you always hear me, but I've said this for the sake of the crowd standing here so that they may believe that you sent me. In other words, Jesus is saying, I'm praying out loud, God, so that these people will connect what happens next to our relationship. Verse 43, when he had said this, he cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come out! And the dead man came out, his hands and feet bound with strips of cloth. You wonder, how is he moving? I'm thinking he's bouncing his way out. Jesus said to them, unbind him and let him go. Let me bring this home. As a Christian, you know that Jesus will resurrect your body. And that is because he first resurrected your spirit from spiritual death. But you must realize that even though you are resurrected from spiritual death, the moment Jesus called your name and you came out of spiritual death, you also came out the way Lazarus did, a bit bound up and needing the help of others to get unbound. Jesus ordered Lazarus' body to resurrect, but he ordered other people to unbind him. And in the same way, you and I are going to need others to help us get unbound. Because a person can be saved and still be bound to sensuality and the uncontrollable need to attract attention to their bodies by how they dress or carry themselves. A person can be saved but still be bound by the fear of death. A person can be saved but still be bound with an insatiable drive for wealth. A person can be saved but still be bound by suspicions, fear, confusion, bitterness, self-righteousness, unforgiveness, substance abuse. How long is that list? Do you think that there is even one believer that went before us in death who's now in heaven that is bound with the fear of death? How many believers are kneeling around the throne of God bound by lustful thoughts and pornographic images? How many believers in heaven are bound by the need for wealth, security, or bound by an unforgiving spirit? Is there a believer in heaven bound by the concern that other believers in heaven find them attractive and alluring? Of course not. The Christian dead are unbound from their flesh and from all that goes with it. But it's going to take the help of other people for us to live unbound. And think about it, babies don't cut their own umbilical cords any more than Christians get unbound without the help of others. Listen, whoever the people were who helped Lazarus out of his grave clothes, they weren't afraid to get personally involved. They had to get close enough to touch him. It took time to wrap him, and it's going to take time to unwrap him. And his grave clothes smelled, and they looked like grave clothes. And in the same way, for people to come out of their old lives after they receive Christ as Savior, you and I are going to have to get personally involved with that person's foul-smelling issues and habits and not be afraid to touch that person and get our hands dirty, as strip by strip we take the time to unravel the attitudes, the nightmares, the paralyzing memories, the guilt, the pain, the old patterns of behavior. Listen, if we want to share Christ with all means all. That's all types of smells from all types of people and their habits. I can't imagine Jesus ever looked at anybody and ever said, ooh, too much for me to handle. I ain't getting close to you. Why do we do that? Who do we think we are? Perhaps it's you that is bound this morning. and you're going to have to let people get personally involved in your foul-smelling issues and habits. And you cannot be afraid to let people help you. And when they start peeling off those layers and you are exposed, by the way, people weren't buried in their nicest suit or dress in Palestine. They actually had nothing on under the wrappings. And so here's Lazarus being unwrapped, and I don't know at what point they stopped, if at all, but do you think he cared? Do you think Mary or Martha, his sisters, cared? How about their parents? How about his friends? Who was even paying attention to it? Did you notice that John didn't mention anything about what he looked like standing there unwrapped? I bet it never crossed your mind until now. The focus was on this man coming back to life. And in the same way, when your Christian brothers and sisters help unbind you, you don't need to feel embarrassed or ashamed and tell them to get away the moment it gets uncomfortable for you. You're getting a little too deep, getting a little too close, a little too personal. See, their focus is on your being unbound and being let go. And if you do not allow God to draw near to you through the help of these brothers and sisters to reveal and heal, then you shouldn't be surprised when you find that you are never free from those foul-smelling habits and issues. Am I reading anybody's mail this morning? Now, there are people who may offer to help you in your process of being unbound that should not be involved, because they will only get near you for their own pleasure or gain. And that's because they've never been unbound. Jesus said, unbind him and let him go. Now, why did Jesus add on, let him go? Perhaps it's because the people wanted to mob him, to touch him, to embrace him. But Lazarus, he needed those initial moments of reanimation to himself, maybe, to get his bearings, to raise his hands, to try out those feet again. And you can imagine the energy required to reverse a decaying body and bring it back to life. I mean, Jesus Christ just brought him back to life, spirit, back into that body that had just been supercharged. How long do you think Lazarus could keep still? I mean, when Jesus said, Lazarus, come out, how much time went by before he came out? I mean, apparently none. I mean, if you've ever had a hard time sitting still after a big cup of coffee, how much more after a resurrection? By the way, the name Lazarus means God is my help. God is my help, Lazarus. So what does an unbound man or unbound woman look like? Well, what did Lazarus do when he realized that he was given a second chance at life? You know, what most people say when they know they're near death. They say, if I had the chance to live my life over again, I'd... Well, Lazarus got that chance. And the record shows us, as we will see in the weeks ahead, that he stayed closer to Jesus than he did at his first chance at life. And you can be sure that he lived more like the Christians in heaven that we talked about earlier. And that voice, the voice of Jesus, that summoned him back into his body and out of death was so powerful. You can be certain that the voices that used to have an effect on Lazarus' life didn't after that. Lazarus didn't need to visit those places that used to be fulfilling. Bishop T.D. Jakes, he says about resurrection, if you were literally resurrected from the dead, could you resist the invitations to the late night talk shows? And turn away the magazine photographers? He said Lazarus was too much in love with the solution to glamorize the problem. Lazarus knew where he'd be if Jesus hadn't stopped the mourning, the decay, rescued this decaying life. And if people wanted to see Lazarus, they had better be prepared to hear about Jesus, because Lazarus is going to share Christ with all. You show me a man or woman who's greatly affecting their world, and I'll show you a man or woman who has felt the pain of tribulation and the confinement of sin and habits and death. And so it should encourage you to know that you are under serious attack because you are greatly feared. What do I mean by that? In any war, your opponent's preparation indicates how tough he thinks you are. And he'll hardly prepare for the fight if he thinks you'll be no problem. But if Satan's sent his heavy artillery on you, be encouraged. Some of you, you're suffering, and you've been suffering a long time. Well, that's the heavy artillery of the devil. Because he doesn't want you free. He doesn't want you unbound, because all hell's going to shake if you ever get unbound. But you got to let other people do it. What Lazarus needed to do. He sure didn't say, leave me alone, I can do this myself. You got to let people come near you to unbind you. The longer you wait for that help, the longer you're going to be bound. You might even make it worse. Other men and women, and maybe it was boys and girls years ago that you remember, buried you under a judgment or failure. And your closest friends may have given up. It was over. But even during the darkest moments in your life, whether you face suicide, bankruptcy, depression, or scandal, Jesus said, it's time. It's time. Then he ordered that the stone be rolled away, and then he prayed, and then he called your name. And he ordered that you be unbound. He knows what he's making you to be, and the only question left about you lurks in the minds of limited men and women. Lazarus didn't stink anymore. He didn't fear people getting close to him anymore. I want to talk about confidence in sharing his faith. And do you think he feared the religious authorities from that point on? You know, nothing threatens a dead man. People only fear what they've not faced. And those like Lazarus have already faced the ultimate fear. And who's going to intimidate them now? The threats of the religious leaders were a waste of breath. Resurrection, it changes the way you react to fear and death. You become unstoppable, and you become ready to do great things for God because you know things that other people don't know. Who knows what I'm talking about? You stumbled, you staggered from bad news to worse until all hope was gone for you. But then Jesus called your name. He assigned a group of people to get around you, help you get unwrapped. And now you're a voice from the grave sent back to speak to your generation. You have been given as a gift from God to this generation. Don't waste the gift. Who needed to hear that this morning? Anybody need some unbinding? Addicted to cell phones? Things like that? Even if you did, would you even say it? I know some churches, and there's moments that something happens that a person or several people or many people just kind of lose their fear of being open and honest about something, a struggle, a habit, something that's binding them, and all of a sudden they just can't stay silent anymore because they're so sick and tired of it. They go, I want to be unbound. And they risk the embarrassment. If you need to risk the embarrassment, hey, risk it, because you ain't going to be embarrassed. This church family is going to love on you. Y'all already know my issue. And so listen, if it's you, if you feel like, man, I need surgery, I need like something big, I need something quite significant, then you need to make that known. Don't waste the opportunity. And let an entire church family pray over you. Or are you going to hang on to it? The longer you stay in bandages, the more used to them you get. The longer you stay bound, the more used to being bound you are. And hopefully you still have something in you that's kicking and says, I want life. I don't like this. I'm as good as dead. My life's as good as dead. I feel like the walking dead. I'm a zombie. You don't have to do that. Don't have to stay there. You may not feel comfortable in front of a church family saying that. It's all right. Nothing needs to be public. But I'm telling you this. If the Lord is talking to somebody this morning, and something tells me he's talking to more than one person, that before you walk out of here, if you want some prayer with a smaller group of folks or just one person, find out the person you want to talk to. Say, I need some unbinding, and then go somewhere to talk. Set a moment to talk, but make sure you follow up on it. Make sure it happens this week, maybe this afternoon. Maybe right now. We got a house across the way. You can have a lot of private places to meet, get unbound. Begin the process at least. If you're just not there yet, then you pray right now. You pray. Say, God, help me. Help me get to the place where I finally ask for help and I don't reject it. But I'm telling you, if you're already there, you're just one sentence away from starting the process of getting unbound. Talk to somebody. And I'm just leaving it open right here in case somebody feels like, I just need help of the church family. This is your moment. It's not your only moment, but here is a moment. I'm going to stay quiet for a moment.